absolutely gorgeous bolognese porticos and trees. And I think I just shit on that image of Lewis. It looks so cool.
Not a fucking chance.
Big state.
Oh, I knew I was waiting. I just
When
put
they
that
were in
in.
their pomp, working on them was the best job in the world. There's nothing came close to it for me.
But then I just decided to text Anthony Hamilton.
Oh,
I
how
sent
bad.
Anthony a text. I wrote, "Dear Anthony."
Hello and welcome to episode 22 of the Car Podcast with Chris Harris and his friends. I need to tell you they're almost not my friends because I delayed today's recording so I could go and do something in America. And I have to say, I've wound them up a bit. There could be some friction. Sparks could fly. For those of us that can't see, or you that can't see, Manish Pandey is dressed in his same normal, dignified manner. Neil Clifford is wearing a sky blue pair of Timmy Mallets. He's got a woolly hat on. And Chris Cooper has come as a recently unemployed mafia driver. He looks quite remarkable, all in black. And I think he's trying to satirize a very famous photograph that's been doing the rounds on Instagram. Which brings me to my first topic for this week. You are a recently signed Ferrari driver, a Formula One Ferrari driver, and you have to go to Fiorano or to Maranello for your first ever appearance at the circuit and at the factory. We look at the photograph that Lewis took. I personally love it. We can discuss it during this section. What would your choice of car be? Which Ferrari, and where would you position it? It doesn't have to be within the factory grounds. It could be anywhere. I'm going to ask this first to Neil Clifford.
Well, you know what? There were lots of subjects to do my homework in about 27 minutes today after a very busy Monday at work. And I would like to just spend a couple of minutes talking more about how wonderful that photograph actually is, to be honest, because I thought of lots of clever things that I would do, but none of them were as clever as Lewis, because that is just the most magnificent photograph that I've ever seen, frankly, beyond F1. Lewis is one of those special types, a bit like David Beckham in a way, that men love him and women love him, and it's quite hard to be loved by everybody. And actually, if you don't love Lewis Hamilton, then I frankly don't like you, because I just think he's fabulous. And that photograph, of course, I'm biased with the F40. Wise choice of the coolest Ferrari ever built. The 7 windows, I'm sure we all know the reference of that photograph. The 7 windows, the 8th being the door, the angle that picture was taken, the Ferrari flag over the door, the fact that Charles probably went to Selfridges and spent £52,000 to out-cool Lewis in casual sportswear and baggy trousers, and the man rocks up in the most beautiful bespoke suit, the most wonderful shirt and tie combo, the most loveliest overcoat in cashmere, I'm sure, hanging over his shoulders. He just blown Charles out of the water. He's out-cooled Charles without even probably meeting him. And I just think that you can't outbeat Lewis on that photograph. That boy, that man, is so clever about and so tasteful about his image. And as I'm sure, thought very hard about that whole thing. And it's just magnificent. It is the most liked F1 image of all time on Instagram. I'm sure you'll tell us, Manish. And to be even more controversial, he's out-cooled Senna.
Yeah.
He is the king.
Yeah. Last week.
Just fabulous. And you know what? That image is so good, and it's going to carry him right the way through the whole of the Formula One World Championship. And he will be Lewis wins 8th. I'm happy to put £100 wager or a KFC bargain bucket of chicken publicly on that bet now, because he will win it. So as opposed to answering your question, Chris, that is my comment about that photograph.
Okay, that's a great way to quietly admit the fact that you've been a bit rushed and couldn't actually get up with the research.
Yeah,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Eulogy to Lewis. I agree. Although I have to say, sometimes he does baffle me when he turns up wearing sort of clothes that are 4 sizes too big for him and stuff. But I don't get fashion. Doesn't mean I don't appreciate it, but yeah, he just looked the dude.
He does it well. He does everything he wears. He does well, actually.
Manish, your thoughts, and tell me what car. Let's go straight to your car and where you'd put it.
Okay, so before my thoughts on the photo, I would have a black Ferrari 288 GTO. That would be my car. It would be in Piazza Santa Stefano, and I will share with the viewers and with our producer a photo of an F40 which we took at night in that piazza. I'd have the thing downlit with this beautiful neon balloon, and I would be wearing...
I just call you a git for completely spoiling my choice for this.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Carry on. Yep.
Sorry. I would be wearing... I'd love to shoot this in the summer or in the spring. I'd be wearing a very, very lightweight blue Armani suit with a very, very mid-blue solid shirt and Chris Cooper's tie. I think a blue knitted tie with a blue suit like that, and I would have Church's brogues on, and I would stand just very slightly touching my car, and that beautiful church would be behind us. It's a church with 7 churches in, downlit with all these absolutely gorgeous Bolognese porticos and trees, and I think I'd just shit on that image of Lewis. It looks so cool.
Not a fucking chance.
Big statement.
Oh, I knew I was waiting. I just put that into bait, Mr. Cooper.
Yeah, no,
He had
exactly.
to be in the Senna reference.
He
Can I
has
just say,
the
I am-
balls of steel.
The Sultan of
See,
Brunei's
Mr.
288,
see.
the only black car. There's one in black, isn't there? 288. I saw it once at Classic A at the factory.
It does all kinds of very odd things to my hormones, that car. It's just
It's
an
good.
unbelievably beautiful car. And no, I actually showed that photo because I have to say, we had a little bit of a group chat discussion and I didn't quite get that photo. Certainly in the way that my fashionista friend Neil did. I showed it to a friend of mine who, he is a fashion designer. And in fact, he's working with Jacques Villeneuve right now on an interesting line
That's
of
never
clothing.
been
which-
said out loud before.
for the years he's working with him on a particular tartan. It will all come to fruition in due course. But Guy, his name's Guy, he looked at the photo and he said to me he thought compositionally he thought it was perfect. And it was really interesting talking to him about, I mean, it was your concept of the 7 windows. He said the tension that Lewis's position, the tension that Lewis has in his kind of blue-black with the red Ferrari, just literally the whole photo is bending you almost to the left. You're looking at him from top to bottom. You've got that little yellow flag. You have the splodges of red from the shutters on that, that, by the way, that's where Enzo Ferrari would watch races, from that room. That was where Luca told us the very, very top clients, what they would do when they picked up their super duper 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 Ferraris. He would go and have dinner with them in that very house. They would stay the night there. The next morning, they would pick up their Ferraris, do a couple of laps at Fiorano, and off they go. So, I mean, look, I don't know how many millions of Instagram views there've been, but I mean, they cannot all be wrong. And it's such a strong way to start Ferrari.
It's where Schumacher slept there, didn't he?
Yeah,
As well,
he did.
with the 7. I mean, so many messages in there.
I've done a wee in there.
Yes,
No.
I have.
Really?
Have you been poo-poo?
No, I left it at number 1. If
Just
you
a
want number
wee.
2 at Fiorano, you go to the traps around the back opposite the fighter jet because they're good
I
there. You
would.
get very good airflow coming in and out.
I think that's important.
Jesus.
I think that's important.
Yeah, I've been in there.
A bit local intel. I've done a lot of business there.
All important knowledge.
If you go to Montana to do a number 2,
No, you can't. You can't. Okay, we've moved off piece. So Manish, I love your answer, Chris Della Cooper. What are you going to go for?
So I know you'll try and argue me out of this, but I do think Lewis pulls off this look slightly better than I do. Well, I think mine's better than Jeremy's. Last week, Lewis was bigger than F1 and he was bigger than Ferrari. He transcended his sport. He transcended his employer. He was the biggest sports star in the world, as Neil says, without really even trying. If I was being slightly harsh, if not, attempt at comedy, the size of that suit, I know what you mean, Chris. It was just a one click away from your first court appearance suit, wasn't it, really?
No, come on. But the double-breasted
I'm being
button one, show
facetious.
6.
It was quite big.
It's a great
quite
suit.
big. It was, yeah. I mean, and who am I to comment? I thought it was extraordinary. And there was Motorsport UK had its annual Night of Champions and awards on Saturday evening. And the luminaries of national, British and international motorsport were there. It's all anyone could talk about. How big was Lewis? Just completely. He's Tom Cruise rolled into Muhammad Ali, rolled into, I don't know. Just every he is the last. He's the last sports star. He's the last sports star.
Yeah.
So, if I'd just been signed by Ferrari, I don't think I'd have been signed as an F1 driver. I know that's impossible modesty on my behalf, but I don't think I'd have been signed as an F1 driver. I think I might have been signed as a GT driver. If you're a GT driver for Ferrari, there's only one car you could ever be photographed by. It's one of those. It's the Pro Drive. It's the Pro Drive built
Good car.
550 GT1 car. Unbelievably beautiful, lovely. Sebastian Loeb drove it. Colin McRae drove it. Everyone drove it.
Yeah.
They go for squillions now. Hugh Chambers, who was at Pro Drive at the time, is now managing director of Motorsport UK, talks about that project. It's one of his favourite ever projects. It's his favourite Ferrari. Where, though, would you have it photographed? I've got another map. You'd have it photographed there.
Oh,
Le Mans.
Le Mans.
Yeah.
At Le Mans. This is not a very good map, actually. There's supposed to be a little symbol there of the circuit, but as most of this is usually on strike, I think the printers come out in sympathy, so the thing hasn't printed out here. But and obviously that bit up there, that's just generally on fire or on strike.
For the benefit of those that are listening, Chris Cooper's pointing to a very empty map of the interior of France. Anything north of Montferrand, anything north of Clermont-Ferrand up to Arras, he's referred to as largely on strike.
Well, it is. I mean, down here, they'll turn up tomorrow down there, and then over here, well, no one's in charge there, but no one seems to notice. We can do more geopolitical commentary next week. So that's what I do. I would be signed as a GT driver and that beautiful 550 Maranello GT1 car.
They're like 3 million quid, those cars now.
And the rest, aren't they?
Say again?
3 or 4 million quid?
About 4 million quid, yeah.
Yeah. Mad.
I had a go in one for a story. It was good. Clermont-Ferrand has just triggered a memory in my mind of being Bristol, when we used to watch every Bristol match at home. Bristol Rugby were playing Clermont-Ferrand in a cup match, which we lost. And I was about 21, 22, and I watched a Bristolian go up to a French supporter and go, "Votre scrum half a shit." One of my greatest put downs I ever heard. I don't know where that came from. Jet lag. So, can you beat Lewis? Probably not. What he did make me realise is that maybe the sartorial side of your first image is something that you should have thought about more than maybe you did, and to not revert to team wear, because I think a lot of drivers and teams realise that the driver that's coming into Ferrari, particularly Ferrari, has never been seen in the famous red before, and the biggest statement you can make is to put them in the team wear, because you've never seen them. You're used to seeing them in the other team wear, and the power and the control to resist that urge was so beautifully borne out in that image, because we were and then the next day, of course, we had the double whammy. We saw him in the jacket and the race suit, so that was coming
Didn't he
anyway.
look good? Didn't he look good?
I thought the lid didn't look quite right, but I thought him in the red suit and the sponsors and the car was just magic, and his description of grinning and smiling in the car as he left that little pit box. The Fiorano pit box, if you've ever been lucky enough to go there, is the greatest pit box in the world. It's a tiny little in and out. It's like a garage from a sort of Hot Wheels set. You drive in, it's got a shutter door, and you come in, and it's just it's toy towns. That's
a really good analogy. The Hot Wheels set.
It's a part of your dreams, and I think, I, as a total dreamer myself, what I've loved about Lewis's last week is that I think he's been thinking about this for 30 years, and he's just had the chance to live out his ultimate fantasy. And he's been that suit, that shot's been in his head for God knows how long.
That's right. I
Maybe
think
he
that's
thought
right.
it was never going to happen. But isn't it lovely seeing people realise their dreams,
Yeah.
and then witnessing someone compose themselves and think about how they want to present it? So I loved it.
He was a little boy again at times, wasn't he? We saw some of the coverage that Ferrari put out when he was walking around the inside of the factory and the various buildings around that we've all seen.
Yeah.
He was that little boy again. He's a man of 40 now, but there was a little bit of
I wonder if he went into the sales department and said, 296s are struggling a bit, lads. What are you going to do about that then? Yeah, this hybrid stuff isn't working too good, is it? I hear the dealers have got them stuffed up their backsides. No, he probably didn't say that. So I think I think if you're living your childhood fantasy, then you have to be true to it. I've owned my childhood fantasy Ferrari. I've had two of them, and I'd have another one for this photograph. It'd be a 512 TR. It's just that's Ferrari for me. That's Ferrari in a car, flawed, ridiculous, fabulous, dangerous, but kind. Everything a Porsche could never be. Flat 12. So I think I'd have a 512 TR. I'd be dressed down. I'd also bring in my styling consultants from Bologna, which would be managed Pandy and Luca Monzemolo, who I know would tell me to wear a light-coloured linen suit, a darker-coloured shirt. I'd also wear some of those Italian-style loafers that I can't walk in, so I'd need some help walking. And I don't walk very well anyway, as you all know. I'm a bit crippled these days. So, but what I want to do is I'd want to be coming out of the Montana, actually, the restaurant.
Yeah, Montana,
I want to use the facilities in the way that Neil said. But there's a little sort of, it's almost Scandinavian, that walkway up, isn't it? There's all sorts of little ornaments as you walk up to the front door of the Montana. I don't want to be around the memorabilia or the automobilia in there, but I just like the idea of the 512 being parked just in the car park outside.
The sausage pasta.
A
couple of glasses of Lambrusco.
And for me, that's now more significant than the Cavallino, because after the Cavallino's facelift, still amazing. But I think the Montana is the one.
Yeah.
Do you remember when Luca told us about the Cavallino? It was so funny when they have redesigned the Cavallino and managed, no offense, but an Indian did the design. To me, I was like, no offense, it wasn't me.
Yeah.
It's just literally.
Don't I mean whacked?
Suddenly you were responsible for all Indian designers.
Exactly, all Indian architecture. He was so apologetic.
Indian has. So we've done that one. Now I'm going to put a picture up on here. I saw this. I was sitting on the throne, actually, reading an old copy of Autocar as I do, and I found this lovely article. This lovely issue. So this is February 88, I think it is. Was it 87? 88. February 88. And the cover story is Integrale 8-valve versus Quattro on the snow. It's a great story. Really cool. Full performance figures. You've got all your numbers. You've got those graphs, and you've got the line drawings of the cars.
The little gear changes, little blip in the curve. There's a gear change.
All that. It's just wonderful. And I know it was a copy that I bought in period. I bought it. I remember buying it because my mother had gone to the hairdresser. I was 13 years old, and she'd given me some money to go and buy a chocolate bar. And I remember buying it in Clifton Village. And on the back of it is me practicing my signature. Because, as that 13 years old, you're trying to work out what your signature is going to be, aren't you?
Yes.
I'm 23 years old in my case.
On the back of it, I'm practicing my signature. You can see I've drawn all over it. Anyhow, I found in the back that they must have made a fortune, that magazine. There were so many car adverts in it.
God, yeah.
But the one thing they had was they'd done a special feature on BMW dealers to persuade them to spend lots of money. And that's it on my telephone. This is the first 2 pages of the BMW special. So I've given my learned friends some simple instructions here. I've got to find them on my phone now. They are that you have £30,000 to go and choose a car from this spread of these 2 pages of BMW adverts. But you have to decide the following. Oh God, here we go. You have to decide which car you're going to buy. You have to decide what's the first journey you're going to do in the car. You have to decide what shoes, bearing in mind this is 1988, you will wear to collect the vehicle, and which cassette tape you will take with you for the collection. Okay, you have £30,000, and we'll let you browse over this. For those of you that are listening, we'll help you out. It's a good £30,000 buys you most of the stuff on this page. I've been very generous with my budget. I think Neil Clifford can go first.
Well, we're all going to choose the same bloody car.
Yes.
Ah,
Well, anyway, there's two of them. You've got a choice, I think, of a red one and a white one, right?
They're both POAs, so I'm not sure they fit in your budget.
No. Then maybe that's not the case because I'm not going. I'm not going E30 M3. No, I'm not. I'm going
it's M5.
I'm going M6.
Yeah. Yes, that is the right answer.
Technically, you're going, Neil. You're going M635 CSI. The M6 never existed.
Yes, that's right. M635 CSI.
poor man's M5.
There's two, or Rich Man's M5. There's two on. I think there's a white with buffalo leather, and then there's a red with black.
Yeah.
I think on 88, I'm going red with black.
I think
really,
you have to.
I'm going red with black. I never had one of these cars, but in 1988, I was working as a store manager in Bromley, and I would drive back to Portsmouth every Friday night with my mate John, and we'd eat a bag of pistachios on the M25, and we'd go out to a nightclub called Images in Portsmouth, get absolutely blasted. And
Where about in Portsmouth was that?
it's on the seafront, opposite
Down
the pier.
by Nero's was.
Right by Fifth Avenue, on the corner, other end. But not the burger bar end, but the other end.
Okay.
Cooper, don't pretend you ever went to a nightclub in Portsmouth.
I didn't go to university much in Portsmouth, but I did go to Portsmouth.
And so I would pick up. I hope this BMW dealership is near Bromley. I hope it's in Kent or somewhere. Like Orpington or Bromley, I suppose. It's all very posh. 88, wasn't it, in Kent?
Yeah.
I was busy selling Yves Saint Laurent suits. Probably 20 suits a day I'd sell on a Saturday, and then I'd jump in my car. What was I in? I was in my mate. Actually, John was driving 325i. He was in a BMW.
Wow.
And we'd go back to Portsmouth, and we'd go out and have beer and other things, and we'd be up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and we'd go straight back to. I'd be the first person back in the store at 8 o'clock on Saturday morning. So I would do that journey. I'd get in my red with black with, I think it said, with side skirts, full BMW factory side skirts.
What shoes are you wearing?
Patrick Cox wannabe. It was the first year really of Patrick Cox. So I'd have gone to his little store on the back of Sloane Square, picked up a pair of Patrick Cox wannabes. They were the hot shoe of the time. I'd have straight out of Compton, NWA.
In 88?
In 88, came out in 88.
Right,
yes,
yep.
it did.
It would have been, yeah. Just for the rides.
I'd have the sunroof open. I'd be playing the whole bloody album. Express Yourself is the best song on that album. And you know what? You dance all night. What's happened to dancing? Young people don't dance anymore. It's such a shame.
All the nightclubs have gone.
They've gone.
Nightclubs are gone. Young people are more sensible now. They drink a lot less, which is really good. But frankly, giving up dancing is an error.
Yeah.
Because, not to say if I'm a brilliant dancer, but you know what? Those are the best times of my life in that club.
How many beautiful women do ugly men bump into on dance floors?
All of them?
I think the opposite of what the woman would say. Probably is the ratio, but with the fuel that you intake on an evening like that, you could walk many miles back home and not be tired. And then you would,
Amazing.
And then you would get up at 4 a.m. and get the train back, the first train out of Hilsey Holt, and I'd be up at Waterloo at like 7:02, and I'd be at Bremley having a bacon and egg sandwich at 7:45. But that would be. Honestly, I've been very lucky in my life, but that was the peak period for my life.
Okay, we've got your tape, we've got your music, I love it, and that's your first journey. Wonderful. Tick, 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 tick. I felt like I've just gone through a sort of Bolivian BMW journey with Neil Clifford. Fantastic. Manish Pandey, what are you going to do?
I'm getting the same car as Neil. It's screaming at me.
Stealing one here, is it? Which dealer?
It's the red quote unquote M unquote 635 CSI, the red one with the skirts and the
Is it a
black
private
leather.
ad or a dealer ad?
No,
here?
dealer.
Which
It's
one?
a dealer ad.
Dealer ad.
It's on the first page, about
Yep.
a third of the way down on the right-hand side. It said
Yep.
6 series. There's just one there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Magpie.
Magpie. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So,
Yeah.
Magpie Cambridge.
Manish, what's the music choice?
so I am getting the cassette of Sting's "Nothing Like the Sun."
Oh, good.
Which I
It's a
thought was
good
a-
album.
Yes.
I thought it was a completely wonderful album, and
Yeah.
we're going to play that. The song that I most loved on it was "Englishman in New York,"
Yeah.
Yep.
which is just it was about Quentin Crisp. And it's a great piece of music, absolutely wonderful album. We're bombing.
Is
from
that clarinet or an oboe? Can you help me out here?
It's what's his name? Not Miles Davis. Marsalis. What did Marsalis play? Clarinet, I think.
Right. Yeah.
Clarinet. So so we're going from Cambridge to Ely, and we're going to this great restaurant called the Old Fire Engine House,
That's about
which
3
is
miles.
right by. I'm sorry.
It's about 3 miles, isn't it? Cambridge to Ely.
Probably, which is double what I do annually.
This is where it started, Neil.
It's a very straight.
Neil, leave him alone. That's bullying.
That's
It's
it.
11
3
miles.
miles.
I think
Yeah,
it's
that's
11
where it
miles.
started.
It's
Yeah.
11. But I'm coming back.
Okay,
I'm coming
okay.
Yeah.
back. Okay.
Well, that's like 2 months worth of mileage from Manish.
Yeah.
Well, easily. But the look is you have to wear chinos. You have to wear some form of Ralph Lauren rugby shirt, and your shoes. There can only be one pair of shoes, and they're Oxblood Dexter Viking loafers.
Nice.
That's what you wear.
Yeah.
Perfect.
You guys are on.
Have you got a penny in there or not?
No, absolutely not. Under no no pennies and no cents stuffed into that horn at the front. No, wrong.
Oxford Loafer was the shoe of '88.
Oh, come on.
You
I
guys
mean,
were
you have
so
to- you have
trendy
to
in
wear Dexter
'88.
Viking.
You'll need a
Oxblood.
So you go. Is this trow heavily pleated with a good turn up? Have you got a big bow in that trow?
1 1/4 inches.
Yeah, it's a
Sir.
turn up. Yeah,
Right, and it needs to break on the shoe. That's
slightly
no
short
half mast. No
with
half
a
mast.
with a
shoes.
Burlington sock.
Yes,
Exactly. Full Argyle Burlington
Yeah.
sock.
Did you have the
Okay.
little button in it? The
Yeah,
little,
on the left, the button on the left only.
Correct.
Yeah.
That tiny
Was that
button.
what you had to do? God, I don't know any of this.
that weird
Yeah.
design that was red, black, and white. Remember that one?
Yeah.
That was always.
Why?
I still
Why
wear
did
them.
people wear socks like
Yeah.
They're the best
Who
socks.
knows?
I still wear them. Yeah.
But you just bomb to the Old Fire Engine House at Ely, arrive, walk through the kitchen, order some form of very mild game, half a glass of wine, get back in the car, go back to college, hide the car. That is a beautiful journey.
Chris
All
Cooper.
6 miles.
Chris Cooper, you've got some stories to follow here, my boy.
Yeah, it's going only one way from here. I can't believe how this is going to start out embarrassing and just descend from there. The first thing you got to do, you got to choose a dealer, and I think there's only one dealer on here you choose. Profits of Gerrard's Cross, Station Road,
Nice.
Gerrard's Cross. Profits was at that point, I think it was owned by part of the Ixion Motor Group, which is Tom Walkinshaw Group.
Yep.
And then Frank Sittner bought it, one racer to another, became part of the Sittner Group, and then Roger Penske bought it. And
Wow.
then it moved from that dealership in Station Road, Gerrard's Cross, moved from there to that big new flash one in High Wycombe, practically 20 years ago now, 20 years ago now, where Mark Malloy, who looked after me for all that time, went from one to the other. So you'd start at Profits Gerrard's Cross because there was a roof on top of the dealership. I think it's a little mini Waitrose now. People in Gerrard's Cross in England, Leicestershire, will put us right. Gerrard's Cross is a commuter town in the posh part of just to the northwest of London. It'd be somewhere in the Hamptons or somewhere like that, or somewhere if it was on the Beltway, if it was in New York. Or Washington, rather. There was a roof, and I remember in 1988 going onto the roof of Profits and Gerrard's Cross
No.
because a mate at work, I've just started working, was taking delivery of an E30 320. And there was an M3 Evolution 1 up on the roof there. My tingly bits had never tingled as much as they tingled that day. But in the Profits of Gerrard's Cross advert from that issue of Autocar, there is an 86D M5.
Yeah.
Unique specification.
Yes.
It's POA.
I think
that
I think that might be the car Neil Clifford currently owns.
Deregistration.
Yeah.
There's not many like that.
Has it got the spec on it?
No,
It just says unique specification. Please call for details. So because it's POA, it must be £30,000, which is what our budget is. That's what my story is anyway.
29,995.
Yeah. The worst bit though is everything else.
Oh no!
I wasn't like you blokes. I don't know. I didn't know people like you. I didn't know you had to wear the little button on your socks on the left-hand ankle. So my shoes would have been Timberland deck shoes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah.
No, they were cool. They were cool. They were
also
cool.
very good for driving in, Mr. Seed.
Oh, they were shit for driving in. They were horrible.
I'll tell you who. No, they weren't. I'll tell you, Matthew Becker always wore Timberland deck shoes as a test driver at Lotus, and the side where the throttle would roll on was always worn away. And Becker listens to this podcast, and he will confirm that he always wore those.
So, did he wear the ones with the proper deck shoes with sipes in the sole?
Is it the rugged hand sewn or the finer?
It was the thin,
I couldn't
the thin
afford.
sole
No,
one.
I couldn't afford
sole
the posh
proper deck shoe.
Yeah.
Because I was Yossi in those days, and everybody wore. It was before Sebago really appeared in Timberland.
It was the uniform.
It was the
cool.
uniform.
They were cool.
And if I'm honest, there might not have been Timberland. There might have been a cheaper alternative that I could only afford at the time. The worst thing, though, is the music. 1988. I would like to say that my cassette might have been Michael Jackson Bad. Great album.
Yeah.
If I was really trying to pull your chain, I would say, no, I had Steve Winwood, roll with it. I didn't have either of those. I had Belinda Carlisle, Heaven on Earth.
Yes.
Did
Great
you?
album.
I used to love Belinda Carlisle. I find in where I've still got my cassettes, wherever they are, it will still be in there.
Sorry. At least you're honest.
I love it. Here we go. So I'm going to say, is that what the album was called? I think it was.
Heaven on Earth. Yeah,
It was called Heaven on Earth. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a little bit going on here, and Chris Cooper's just touched on it for me. A lot of the choice here was the exotic look of the BMW dealer sticker, or what it looked like on the number plate. If you were from the West Country, we had Western Counties or Dick Lovett.
Counties.
But for me, there was only one there, Hexagon. I just love seeing Hexagon on the number plate.
Yeah.
And I love
That was London and exotic.
Their tax disc holder was a bit cooler. Everything about and the Hexagon look. Hexagon was written large on the number plate, and if I saw a used car,
Paul Michael's Hexagon.
Yeah.
I think I saw you doing a speech there once, Manish.
Perhaps.
So for me, I've got to go to Hexagon. So I've got to be choosing from their inventory, which is confusing because they're listing an M635 for 27.5 grand. It's not much more than a 635. It says M635 in Dolphin Grey with Buffalo Hide. It's done a few miles, 24,000. I suspect that's an old press car. So I'm nicking that for my 30 grand. I've got an M635 for the money. The drive back is, I've picked it up on a Friday afternoon, because when you pick up cars that are significant to you, you always end up picking them up on a Friday afternoon. And as you get in it, you realise you've got an absolutely god-awful journey, and that's a good chance for the car to break down on you, as they always do. I once had a 512 TR that properly shit itself on a Friday afternoon as I left the dealer. So I've got in this thing. What am I wearing? Well, I was very young then. I couldn't drive. But I do know all I wanted was a pair of Levi's 501s because I wasn't allowed them. I wasn't allowed. Levi's jeans were expensive. The 501, we didn't have button fly jeans in the early 80s, did we? We had a zip. We had Wranglers in this country, and these exotic jeans came with these
lowest cords.
And actually, the shoe was a low-cut Dr. Martens shoe. That's what my generation wanted. We didn't want a boot. We wanted a low-cut black Dr. Martens shoe with your 501. That's what everyone wanted.
Yeah.
And you actually wore the sports shirt that you had in your study bedroom that smelt the least. So that's what you'd wear, the one that didn't have mud on it and didn't smell so bad. That's what you'd be wearing. Okay? The music.
I didn't. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I haven't said where I'm going. You finish music. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. I'm going back to Bristol, so I've got through the traffic, and I'm going A40. I'm going over the Cotswolds. I'm doing the Bourton on the Water Road. Then I'd like to say to myself that that I'm a purist and I want to take the windy road back. I don't. I've got one of the fastest saloon cars ever made. I want to get it on the M5 where it's quiet, and I want to just see if it will do 150. I want to see the needle do 150. It's totally illegal, but this is an imaginary world, so I don't care. How many times have you promised yourself in that first drive, I'm going to go to the B21742 because it really tells me whether it's got good secondary ride? Actually, you want to get onto a dual carriageway and spank the shit out of it in a straight line and see how fast it goes. Right.
Yeah.
So I've done that. The tape is everything. So it's a choice between two. There's only two. It's either In Excess's Kick, which is a phenomenon at this point,
Good album.
or because that's what you tell your mates that you had. But in reality, you took the Johnny Hates Jazz album because you just love tapping along.
I love
to
that.
Johnny Hates Jazz.
Johnny Hates Jazz.
Johnny Hates
God,
Jazz.
Shattered Dream.
So, Chris Cooper, you want to just catch up on where you were going?
So, because I was so spotty and nerdy, spring 1988 was my very, very first skiing holiday. I couldn't really afford. And I was a shit skier, and I wasn't really very socially adept or confident. So going back in our little time machine, which we talked about before, it's still in development, nearly finished. I'd have gone to La Plagne in France in my unique specification M5, soon to be owned by one Clifford N. And I'd have driven it to the restaurant where we had a cheese fondue evening.
Oh, nice.
That's how 88 I was.
Yeah. In your Timberlands.
In my Timberland.
Nice.
Slipping over because I had the wrong Timberlands for the snow.
That can block you for weeks. That can. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chris, sorry, before you move on, just in terms of buttonfly jeans, just a quick one for the viewers. If you want to see the greatest buttonfly jean ad ever, it's not any of the Levi ads. It's actually Tony Kaye, who I think is the greatest ad man ever. Made a couple of interesting movies. Just see Jason Statham in an ad.
Yes.
Look up
Yes.
Lee Space, okay? Just look at the Space ad with Lee. It's two cosmonauts meet and they button their flies together. And this is probably the most complicated bit of cinematography, storytelling, and lighting. And just Jason Statham, before he was anyone.
He's cool.
Oh, just watch him in
What was
this.
the other random thing about him? He was a diver, wasn't he? He was in the
He was a
European
diver.
Big
Championship.
time, yes.
Yes.
Big time. Just
Cool.
watch this ad. And the music is unbelievable. 30
There
seconds
you
of your
go.
life that you will be very happy to spend.
Lee Jeans. Right, I'm gonna just slightly alter our schedule here because I think
Sorry.
the next question is potentially something that's not dissimilar to what's gone before. So here's a question that was posed by Neil Clifford, one that I'm ashamed to answer. Do you still read car magazines? Before we start this, I want to tell you that I love car magazines. They have totally formed my life from probably the age of 6. They still, in some ways, do now. And I'm a massive fan, and I won't hear anything said against them. But I've got some embarrassing things to admit when I answer this. So, Neil Clifford, it was your question. You go first.
Yes, I do. And I buy them, but I also subscribe to them. I'm a big fan of them, mainly because of the pictures. I am very bloody dyslexic, so I don't read much of the stories, but I love, and that's where whatever you're explaining then, Chris, about would it be Autocar or Motor with the drawings of the 5 or 6 cars, all of the facts.
Autocar. Yeah.
You know, for me, that was the next
Horse
move
car
on.
motor.
Really, that was the puberty version of Top Trumps.
Yeah.
That you were able to capture that data, look at all of the comparisons, look at the prices.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was just adorable, and like Top Trumps, that capturing of data was something that I really loved doing. I attempt to read the stories, but I look at the pictures. I subscribe to. Are we going to be specific here? Octane, I adore.
Yeah.
I want to support all of them, frankly. Classic and sports car, which is the sort of slightly more real, oily rag TR6 version of Octane. But I love them both. The only sort of, would it be more modern magazine that I subscribe to is Evo. I've been there from the beginning.
Yep.
Obviously, I was a big fan of Mr. Harris when you were there, and everyone else. You know, I love the Evo thing. I don't subscribe anymore to Car, although I buy it. It's not quite what it was, is it, in the 80s and
It's had a
90s?
bit of a resurgence in the sales figures.
It has a bit of resurgence.
Yeah,
That is true.
it's selling well. They've done a good job.
I frankly don't want to say anything negative about any of them because they all bloody work
we need
hard.
all
And they're pushing water up a bloody hill, and we all need to support them. So I do buy car whenever I'm in a WH Smiths. I buy car. When I'm on a train, I particularly love car, or on Eurostar, or on a flight. I love a little long haul flight and buy 4 car magazines. I don't watch bloody films on. I don't really like films. I don't really like that make believe thing. I much prefer facts, and therefore I like car magazines. I buy Autocar. Big supporter of Autocar. So yes, even though I think strategically it's tough for them, I think we should all support them. So I probably spend 40 quid a bloody month on car magazines.
So you should. Manish Pandey, do you still read any car magazines or not?
I have 3. Motorsport, Autosport, which is about to become monthly,
Has
which I think
become
is
monthly.
quite a has become monthly. Sorry, which is a big line, and it used to be called F1 Racing. It's now called Grand Prix Racing.
Which is now integrated with this.
Exactly.
No more.
We've now got one magazine. But it's funny, this, isn't it? It's a little bit like the post office. People talk about the fact that people don't send letters anymore, which is why the post office is so segregated, about to reduce the second-class service, blah, blah, blah. And I guess the internet has, to some extent, vaguely nuked the long-form version of a car magazine. If you've got I'm in front of a 24-inch screen here. That's effectively an open spread magazine. And if this is how you consume what you read, I guess maybe the days of the kind of long form mag are limited. I remember as a kid wanting to read absolutely everything that was out there in print form, but I do sit in front of this desk or the equivalent of this at my office all day. And it is a very funny thing to have something tangible. And I was trying to think, when is it that you want something in print? It's when is it? Neil's just said when he gets on a plane, he
On
loves
the bog, when you're on the bog.
Yeah.
You can look at all the ads.
Yeah.
No. I totally agree. But the internet has slightly
hairpin
nuked
company?
this, I think.
Yeah, the best place to buy a car, allegedly.
There's no found my car online.
No, but the classifieds are one of the best parts of these magazines, right?
Classifieds in many ways are the editorial. That's what we, that was the premise of a business idea once. So I think I agree with Manish. I think you're being very kind. I think as someone who relied on that as my living, the internet kiboshed it completely, and I think it's amazing that any of them still exist.
Yes.
And they exist because of the passion of the people that work for them, because most people wouldn't accept those salaries and they wouldn't want to work under those conditions. But the people that still work there bloody love what they do, and they do it for passion. Really, the numbers are not what they were.
But I think isn't this a perfect moment for a bit of a shout out to Joe Dunn and Ed Atkin at Motorsport? I mean, that thing, it's a work of utter passion. You read stuff long form in that, in print. I don't put it down. And they sit down and they find stories. It's not this sort of slightly annoying, passive internet trawl. Like there's a story, let's just recycle it. They go and find them. They go and,
I'll let Chris go first. I feel very guilty sitting here, so you go first. But
yes, I do still buy car mags. I buy all of them.
Good.
The nicest thing, if somebody went to the tobacconist, if they still exist, little corner shop, to get some sweeties, dolly mixers maybe, with the brown ones taken out, because they don't taste the same as dolly mixers. They are different. I'm having no discussion about that. If they came back with some sweeties or some errands, gone to get their messages, as they'd say in Scotland, if they brought back a car magazine, doesn't matter which one it is, It'd be a really nice thing to do. My favourite present, Christmas or birthdays, is a magazine subscription. I don't mind, but I've already got it because I put one in the office and one at home, or one in the loo, whatever. One in the car to take to Cornwall. So I just think we've got to keep them going. There's something different about holding a magazine on the loo, on the plane. Years ago, when we used to go on holiday, like a winter holiday in the sun, I would take an extra trolley bag to check into the plane with like 60 million kilograms of car magazines stashed into this impossible to lift because it was so full of paper. So I spent a week reading on the beach, reading car magazines.
Yeah.
That was, could have put me somewhere else without probably the time, particularly expensive holiday, just reading the car magazines. I want to say a few words about Autosport. So it's the 75th anniversary of F1 this year. Autosport magazine started when F1 started in 1950. Last Thursday, via subscription, unlike some subscriptions, the Autosport one tends to always arrive on a Thursday when it's meant to. Autocar often doesn't. Autosport, and I rushed in thinking the postman's just been. I was in the office here on the farm that day. Postman's just been. I know what's happened. Autosport will be in its wrapper over in the house, and I saw it on the kitchen table, and I could see it had. I'm showing it to the camera now, like a spine on it. I thought, wow, they've done a special edition because of the man in red.
Yeah.
And I opened it, and there was an editorial from whoever it is this week. It's Kevin Turner still, who was there on Saturday night. And it said, we're now going monthly. I was crestfallen. Absolutely crestfallen. I've got on you can't see it here. We can go through it one. We'll have a special edition of going through old editions of Autosport, where, Chris, you must have loads of these as well. How many editions of Autosport have you got where in the racing reports at the back, and they got the star driver or star driver of the weekend? There must be loads where you were the star driver. I've got some myself.
You bastard.
I've got them all down there.
For the avoidance of doubt, I don't have one.
You don't.
I've never bought Autosport.
How many pictures have you got on the inside front cover of you overtaking Jean Alesi whilst he's driving a 250 GTO?
To the nearest decimal place, somewhere between slim and none, and slim just left town.
But your point lands.
Yeah. So we should all buy car magazines. The best thing about travelling, when we were all in Bologna last year, I bought loads of Italian car mags. I can't really read Italian. I don't care. They were just brilliant.
Pictures.
Classifieds.
Pictures, numbers.
Yeah.
It's brilliant. Who remembers that in the autocar and motor, and you have that sort of like vertical stack of the cars with the sort of the pencil drawn outlines, 0 to 60, 15 seconds. Okay.
I would
11
rather give
seconds,
up
yeah.
alcohol, which I don't drink anyway, and just buy car magazines. They're much better value.
Yeah.
Stop drinking.
That was always
buy car
my.
magazines.
When I've got such a complicated history with these products, I love them dearly. I don't read any car magazines really because I'm too close to them, and I'm not that interested in the opinions of others. I make my own mind up about cars, and also, I don't tend to take my work home the whole time. That it's quite omnipresent being a car enthusiast and a sort of a motoring journalist. So I don't necessarily want to read about cars in my spare time, but I do want to look at adverts of used cars. I want to watch films and things. Cooper's undressing. I don't know, he's doing something in the background there. I'm sorry for any viewers who find this worrying. Put them back on, Chris. And I feel guilty that I don't read the car magazines. I know I've got it wrong because occasionally I'll be in a waiting room and I'll pick up an Evo from 6 months ago or an Octane, and I'll immediately be drawn back into that world, and I'll love it, and I'll find a story I want to read. I think for me, the car magazine or the magazine of any vertical genre that's your passion it's the vinyl of your life. It's an album, and I remember what it was like to sit and craft an issue of a magazine. You craft it. You craft the light and the shade. You balance stories against each other. You'd hold stuff over for another week or 2 weeks because you knew it would be a bit too much of one thing. It was like an album. It was, you found this flow and you imagined yourself as a reader. I used to love sitting in Autocar's offices and working out and seeing what they'd chosen and imagining what my reader journey was. And my little section, I was so proud of it. I'd like to do the new car bit. It'd be like, okay, this week I want to have there's got a bit of German there. Let's lob in a bit of quirky French, and then maybe something that we can't buy here, like a left-hand drive, Corrado that you can't get here, because everyone will think, oh, that's cool. Wish we could get those here. And I love that craftsmanship. That doesn't exist on the internet. You don't have that. You just throw a story up.
No.
And also, I can tell you this now: if it's a great thing reading them, and when they were in their pomp, working on them was the best job in the world. There's nothing came close to it for me. Top Gear was good. I've had lots of fun, but my formative years at Autocar, and I've written about it and spoken about it so many times, that's the best salaried job in the world, because you're around like-minded people, and you have this endless flow of brilliant, interesting machinery coming through the door. They're wonderful things, and I love the fact the Road Rat exists. I love the fact there's all sort of Magneto. You've got the 000 one that Pete Stout does in the States. There's lots of these things that are very high quality, very low volume, and I think they just about sustain themselves. And I tell you now, if I had a lot of money now, I'd start my own car magazine.
Yeah, let's do it.
We should do that. That was a fantastic love letter to the car magazine.
Yeah,
I love them. And I feel guilty that I don't buy them, and I sort of brush past them on the newsstand, and I should buy them. But I tend to buy stuff that's outside of my genre. So I'll buy mountain bike magazines. I don't ride bikes anymore, but I'm interested in what's going on. I'll buy radio control car magazines and buy Private Eye, whatever. But I don't buy car magazines, and I should do really.
There must be an opportunity for a digital car magazine with a paywall.
There is, but I'm.
Has anyone had that idea before?
I mean, just imagine if you. Or how about a community like Facebook Cars?
A community. What would we call it?
I paid that annual fee. I was flicking the page on my laptop.
So this was Autosport. This is Autosport. Quite a few years ago. Front cover, Michael, Richard Burns, not for second. In the actual proper racing reports, where is it?
There's a Caterham. I think that's a hint.
Is that Chris Cooper?
Oh, come on.
Star Drive.
Are you really holding that up? So Chris Cooper's just held up. He is the star driver that's in the back. Is that the bit in the back page that Marcus Pye used to have that was beyond the advert?
Yeah.
Yeah, the national report.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super Cooper rules the roost at Wet Spa.
I mean, with his modesty.
By the way, he did just say that with a straight face. I've just lost a lot of subscribers because of that, Cooper.
Sorry about that.
But no, it's brilliant. And therein lies another part of car magazines. When you see your name in print in the thing that you've loved all your life, I tell you now, I can remember. And I've written about this. The first thing I ever did, I had my name published in Autocar magazine, was in 1996. I did some work experience, and I had to do a tiny piece for the news section, and I had to end up I was the human arms of a clock that was done on Photoshop, and I wrote the little sidebar nibby thing on the bit, and they gave me a writing credit at the end of it, and I still have that. I have that. I don't have anything to do with my first episode of Top Gear because largely that was a shambles because Chris Evans was involved. But actually, that seeing your name in print.
Yeah.
I remember walking into a news station.
That's how we met you.
I'll just, have a quick check if my name's in there. Just quick check.
Yeah.
We all met you. I would still if I did a story for Autocar now, I would go in the next week to the newsstand and I'd check my name was in there. I would.
Can I just tell you that the way you know you've really arrived is when you walk into Waitrose and all the Autosport magazines and the Motorsport magazines have Senna on the cover and you're buying an avocado. It's just one of the greatest feelings ever. You see Senna everywhere.
We need to insert some humility into this podcast now. We're coming to
It's not a car magazine, though. I'll be up for starting a car magazine.
Let's do it, Neil. Let's start this year. We'll start the car magazine. I love.
Definitely do it. Definitely.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm
Can we
in.
have an old
I'm
school
in.
office? Like, can we make an office like Autocar where you have basically the smoking corner, they've got the light box, and everyone's always peering. You get to the light box and you pretend that you were looking at beautiful arty shots. You weren't. You were seeing how sideways you were. You were seeing whether you had the best sideways shot, like that, on the light box, going,
Where your
"Yeah,
hand
I'm
was on the
checking-
wheel.
just checking the composition here, just checking how sideways you were."
What
I
was it
loved
before Evo? Was what? Fast lane? No. What was
Performance car?
Fast performance car really was the DNA.
performance car? Was fast
Yeah.
lane before that?
Yeah, it was
Same
a different
time.
thing.
Same time. They were
Well,
the same
Russell-
area.
It was
Russell
Fast lane was a bit more straight laced.
Bulgin wrote for what? He was
performance car
performance car.
and car.
I adored that man.
I met him 3 times. He was cool.
Honestly,
he was also big. He was a tall man.
6'7". Yeah.
Right, here we go.
Right.
Next one. We're going to do our. Hold up the equation, please, Chris Cooper.
Oh, I haven't got it. It's
I haven't got
12.
the equation. So this
It's
week the
12.
equation has gone through Zorba, the machine, and it's come out as £12,000 is our budget for this week.
Yeah, it's 12.
There we go, 12. Hold it. Thank you, Chris. Chris just held the equation up there very handily. So £12,000 challenge. Manish, what are you going for?
I'm going to hold up my computer. By the way, may I just say that I'm not going to mention the website, but when I did look on Auto Trader last week with my Jaguar, there were 1 or 2 comments saying I would not buy a car from there.
Yeah, you would buy it from Pornhub or somewhere.
Motorhub.
Motor.
Neil Clifford, wash your mouth out with Salvino soap.
It was something hub.
I'd never heard of it before.
Let's keep it serious, guys.
Yeah.
I've had to get water. Sorry. So what we on? We're
12K.
Manish, get a grip. Answer the question.
I just checked this out properly. Here we go. 11995.
What is
Oh
it?
God, you smashed it. It's a 4200
My
GT.
rather beautiful Maserati, the 4.2,
Yeah.
the Cabrio. I mean, I just couldn't believe it. You can literally get the Cabrio Corsa for 11995, and I had a little heart attack. This thing is black with black leather, and it just didn't have even too many miles, or like 52,000 miles, and
Yeah. That's
I
'cause
love
it
it.
Spent the rest of the time in the shop.
Yeah, it's good though. It's good.
It's a lovely car. I thought this was a shed. You know, we can spend some money on it. We can do funny things with it, but it's just such a gorgeous car.
It's a
It hasn't
12
got the
grand
really.
Maserati, Manish. It's a 12 grand Maserati. You're winning at life.
Yeah.
Come on.
You won at life.
Yeah.
Neil Clifford, beat a 12 grand Maserati. Come on.
Right, I'm going the opposite ends of the scale of sensibility here. I'm going the car that's going to last me 10 years, the car that's going to be very practical, the car that's probably peak Mercedes, the fact I can fit 7 people in it and a dog, super chic, you can rock up anywhere, you don't look underdressed.
124 estate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good guess.
Can you get one for 12?
Yeah. No, not only can you
wow.
get one, it's a 320, 93, 94, last of the W124, 7-seat, Japan ex-Japan.
Is it Seymour Pope?
No, it's not Seymour Pope. I've been there, done that. I bought a very weird Audi. I need to talk about Audi at some point. But from Seymour Pope. But anyway, I think it's 50,000 miles, Japanese, grade 4B, whatever that means, 320, 70. You know, they've got that Japanese grading, haven't they? You never understand.
It was classified as, it could just made it up. It's got
It's
7 stars.
grade 4B interior. Yeah, no one knows what the fuck that means. But look,
Does that mean it's got like child shit in it or something?
I think it's junk bond equivalent in a car, yeah.
but
Non-investment grade.
look, it's the last of the run, ex-Japanese, 5-door, rare 7-seater, rear seat pack, automatic, 3.2, dark blue, full electric, heated, Mercedes-Benz, perforated leather, factory walnut, Becker, air conditioning, cruise control. That will last. That will outlive all of us.
It will. Sportline?
No.
Non-sport
No.
line.
You couldn't get a Sportline estate,
Yes, you could.
could you?
Oh, the internet will tell us.
I don't know.
Settle that in the comments. I don't think I've seen a Sportline estate. If
I
you've
might
seen one,
take that back.
let me know.
I don't think I've seen one. But anyway, that is a car that will outlive all of us. And you could rock up in Monaco Casino Square and you wouldn't look a wanker. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
No, you wouldn't. Okay, right.
Did they have clear glass or that
Clear
horrible?
glass.
Clear
It
glass.
did. Because sometimes they
We've,
retrofit.
We've not. That's two great choices. Chris Cooper, again, you're in trouble.
I've slightly cheated.
Oh well.
Explain it. This is a canon of great cars. The shed thing, we need to be clear about what we mean because these aren't sheds. These are better than sheds. And many people might think of 12 grand.
Because Clever Jason has created the curve that takes us out of shed at 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've gone for, in the canon of the greatest cars we're creating, 2007 Audi RS4.
Yeah. Just about.
Well, that's where I cheated because it's actually 13,800.
You did that last week. You never stick to the rules.
No, I went. It was £10 under last week.
Try racing with him, mate.
The reason why I picked this one, two reasons. One, because I couldn't find one that was in the budget. But secondly, looking at on Auto Trader with the price tracker thing, isn't that you could spend all day? That's where there is a place for the internet alongside the classifieds in the car magazine. You can't do price track in the back of 30-year-old auto car. So I can see that this has been on the market since May last year. I think it might be a private seller of impeccable repute and reputation. But it's been on the market since 23rd of May last year. It's a couple of grand less than that. So I think in the current economic circumstances, in a month or so's time, a bid of at or not unadjacent to the 12K budget might meet with more favour than less.
It's fair enough. Neil Clifford will have something to say to you after the podcast recording's ended.
I'm waiting for that.
I'm doing the same as you, though, because the price of mine's a bit high. But I've got an exchange rate issue that I could work into this. So,
Oh, come on.
you don't see many of these around. I'm on Car and Classic. It's a 50,000 mile 205 XS.
Yeah,
It's eat your dinner off it. One of the best cars I've ever driven. 13,000 euros. I don't
that's
think
fine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get that. You can
that's
definitely
12
have
grand
that.
for me, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah,
I
Fine.
crap on about these things, but honestly, if you break down driving into how your hands feel, how your legs feel, what your arms do, that is the equal of many a supercar to drive. They're better than GTIs to drive. They're amazing little cars to drive. So I go on about them too often. Please go and try one. And if can someone buy that? It's on Car and Classic now. Buy it, and I'll have it off
That
you
is
in
a good
summer.
one.
Chris,
Man-
that's not even £11,000 right
Yeah.
now.
Is it not?
No.
Manish, just to say to you, the producers just texted me to say, I bloody told you the Maserati would be good. He texted me earlier with some suggestions because I was stuck in London and I ignored his best suggestion.
I was shocked to see that.
No. That's
12,000 quid. How can you?
yes.
Right. We are now moving on to our two-car garage for this week.
3-car garage.
It's three,
Sorry,
though.
it's 3-car garage.
Mm.
And this week it's Lewis, isn't it? It's Lewis.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what is his newfound red 3-car garage?
Yes,
No, one of them's for his dad.
One for
One
his
of them's for
dad.
his dad. One of them's for Anthony. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So Chris Cooper, would you like to go first?
I would like to go first. Thank you for asking. This is about Dad. It's about Dad and the lad. And when they were karting and he was putting up estate agent for sale boards and all the other things he was doing 20, 30 years ago, to earn a bit of extra money to pay for a bit more petrol and another set of tyres or a set of shaved second-hand tyres, all the things that Anthony did. And if anybody's ever been to a kart meeting in the UK and seen the complete spectrum of economic circumstances, even in those days that there was in karting, there would be dads and lads like Anthony and Lewis. And then at the other end, there would be plutocrats and huge trucks and so forth. When Lewis was karting, they were the only people that looked like them in a karting paddock. And anyone who's ever spoken, particularly to Anthony, about what that was like, you realize how hard. Well, it wasn't just hard economically; it was hard in lots of other ways that are sort of fairly obvious. And I think they must have dreamt when they had that red Vauxhall Cavalier, registration F44 HMA, which is why Lewis has 44 still on his racing car now, all through karting, junior Formula E. Never takes number one.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, F44 HMA.
That's cool.
On a 1989 Vauxhall Cavalier. So I think the first car is the car that Lewis would want to buy for his dad. Lewis was born in 1985. And I think the Ferrari that he would buy for his dad can only be a 288 GTO.
Yeah. Yeah.
You could leave it there and say, Dad, that's the year I was born. We made it all the way to Formula One. Or you could say it needs a special number plate. It's an 85 car, so F doesn't work. But you could have C44 HMA.
Nice.
Which extraordinarily was also on a Vauxhall Cavalier. The silver one, registered in 85. It says it's
Can we buy tickets to come inside your brain one day?
So I think when
they're return tickets,
when he unveils the car,
brilliant.
It would have C44 HMA as a number plate.
I love it.
brilliant,
Lewis, I think,
brilliant.
Neil is right. It's almost impossible to top the F40 that they revealed last week. But I think for Lewis, the Ferrari special car that's most closely related to Formula One is sort of arguably the F50. So I think he'd have, for himself, an F50.
Yeah.
And I think he then would have F44 HMA
No.
as a number plate. And it's still associated with a red Vauxhall Cavalier, first registered in March 89. I think hasn't been on the road since 2001. Who knows? I mean, I don't know. Maybe Anthony still got the car or they're still in registration somewhere in the family. So that might spoil the symmetry of what I'm saying. It's a 3-car garage. So the last car, because when they were karting, Anthony had to drive the car that carried the cart on a trailer to the circuits. This time round, Lewis is going to drive the vehicle that carries his dad's car. It's only one vehicle he could have. It's one of those.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
He's showing that's a Targa Florio truck. I think,
Tipo
isn't it?
892, I think, isn't it?
Tipo 892, yes.
So the 3-car garage would be that beautiful Ferrari. I think it's a Fiat 682, the car transporter with the open top deck, a 288 from the year he was born, and an F50 for himself. I hope Lewis and his dad would appreciate that.
Sometimes it's clear that my friends have spent time thinking about these questions, and it's fair to say that one has had some time and love lavished on it. Thank you very much, Chris Cooper.
Lovely.
Manish, what are you going for?
So I had my own thoughts on this, and I thought Lewis, in a way, is the beginning of something for Ferrari. And the car that I really imagined that he'd have was a very beautiful blue Ferrari 166 Barchetta, where it all really began. just beautiful and blue, and he'd be there. He is the beginning of something. And then I thought about his second car. And weirdly, I didn't think about the F50, Chris. I thought about the Enzo because of the engine, because of the V12, because of the link to Formula One, because it had that kind of weird weight distribution. And I thought that was his car. And then I thought, what would he buy his daddy? And Anthony he can drive. He's not the tallest guy. And I actually imagined him in Neil's rather beautiful mint green Dino. I just thought that would just be such a brilliant combination of cars. But then I just decided to text Anthony Hamilton.
Oh,
come
on.
I sent Anthony a text. I wrote, "Dear Anthony, what a joy to see Lewis in red. I hope you've had a great week," because obviously they were in Maranello last week. "Let's please find a little time together. Meanwhile, for a bit of fun, we're doing a 3-car garage on the podcast. 2 Ferraris for Lewis and 1 for his dad. I want to win it so badly it hurts, and I'm prepared to do a little insider trading. So, which 2 Ferraris would Lewis want as road cars, and which would you want?" And he pinged me back. He went, "Lewis, La Ferrari and La Ferrari Aperta," which he already has, red and white. And he said, "For me, a red F12 TDF."
Oh,
So much. So I feel I've won. That was the answer.
You actually know the answer. That's
That is fantastic. Buy yourself a complimentary donut and cup of tea for winning.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Neil Clifford, follow that.
That's really difficult to follow.
It's so good, man. That's really good.
And I'm really happy he's chosen a TDF.
Yeah.
Yeah. Put the value up of that.
You know what? Whatever I say is going to be bloody anticlimax. So I'll just keep it quick. I think if you're Lewis, you're turning up at Maranello and you're having a chat with everyone there, and they're like, "Oh, I was thinking about buying my dad a car, to thank him. He's been so amazing." And they, in a slightly charming but slightly devious Italian way, would say, "You should buy him a Pura Sangue." And then they would. That's what they would do, because they want to see Lewis and his dad in a Pura Sangue in order to sell these cars. So they would usher him into the tailor-made section, and he would do a purple Pura Sangue, full-on tailor-made with, orange Hermes leather, the whole kit and caboodle, a whole carbon everything. And actually, because his dad must be getting on a bit. Maybe he's probably as old as me. I don't know how old bloody Lewis's dad is. He's got to be older than me, right? So he wants comfort. He wants practicality. He wants to zoom around in this thing. He doesn't want to break down. He doesn't want something flash that he's going to look an idiot broken down on the M11. So he's got a purple Pura Sangue. But Lewis is going to be, because we know Lewis thinks about everything so hard, and he doesn't want to be obvious. He doesn't want to. He does. He's gonna make people are gonna. Oh, I can't believe he's driving that. I thought he would have done that, because Lewis is always one step ahead. So he wouldn't be doing something obvious. I think his dad is wrong about the LaFerrari thing. I think Lewis is going to go out there with super niche cool Ferrari. He's going to go
I'm not
one
liking
old.
this, Neil Clifford. You're answering it the way I was answering it. This is too close to what I'm going to say.
He's going to go one super classic film star 60s car, but he's not going to go obviously 275 or 330 or Daytona. He's going to go for the 500 super fast. They only made 3 in right-hand drive, and this was designed for no budgets. This was about people that own countries, people that were film stars. It's got the biggest engine of that whole era, 5 litres, a hugely gorgeous Sophie Loren style Ferrari. I think they made very few of them. So he's going to have one of those, because when he pulls into Monaco, everyone's going to say, oh, I thought he was going to get a 275. I thought he was going to get a short wheelbase. That's all a bit obvious. So he's going 500 super fast. And then he wants something a bit more modern, but still in the era of classics, still in the era of Luca. You know, he knows Luca was peak modern Ferrari, so he's going 550 Barchetta.
Oh,
He's going in silver to match the 500 Superfast. Both have got blue leather. He's got that funny, dodgy German roof, so he can drive really fast. But he's got the helmets. He's got all the gear in the back. But I think that just Lewis nipping around Monaco, it's understated, but fabulous. So that would be my choice.
I'm loving these. I'm not really enjoying bringing up the rear in this one,
Yeah.
to say the least. But I think I've got a couple of answers for you. But I love the way we're trying to demonstrate what we think we know about Lewis. Of course, we don't really, because he's a little bit of a paradox. He's an enigma. But the way that he dresses, for me, means it puts immense pressure on his Ferrari choice of car, because you can't turn up dressed in some of his more outlandish gear and get out of a 355. It's not enough.
No.
The car cannot support just how wacky some of the clothing is. So that's why he's gone to North America and he's spoken to, I think, a guy called Anthony Noble, who owns the Ferrari Pinin, the one-off 400 GT that was in Top Trumps.
Yeah.
And he's bought it from him because he knows if he turns up to a race in a Pinin wearing his clothes, he'll be more talked about than that F40 image, because he'll be like, they'll think Daft Punk's turned up. It's the coolest four-door they've ever made, a four-seater ever made. It's absolutely amazing looking car.
Yeah, it is.
It's a stunning thing. So he's got a Ferrari Pinin. I think this is me being a little bit too clever now, because I did think about this a bit. Lewis is a massive supporter of American sports, and particularly, obviously, black athletes. So nothing cooler than turning up in the ex-Michael Jordan black 512 TR.
512 TR, that's what he had.
With that shot of Michael Jordan getting in it, I think that'd be such a Lewis car. Turn up Monaco in that.
That is cool.
Michael Jordan 512 TR.
Yeah.
What's he buying his dad? Well, we know that Anthony's had some amazing cars and he loves driving and can drive. So I think to demonstrate their sort of understanding of the canon of Ferrari, I think peak modern Ferrari, most people agree, is a Speciale Coupe. Is probably peak driving Ferrari of the modern era. So he's bought him a really nicely spec'd 458 Speciale, not the Aperta. Some say that's more of a poser's car.
I hear that
For the
said.
benefit of our audience, Neil Clifford has a beautiful 458 Speciale Aperta. And I've been deliberately rude because I wish it's an amazing car and I'd love it. But this time he's gone for a coupe, and he's gone for it in Rosso Dino, because I'm obsessed with Rosso Dino at the moment. It's a great, and I tell you what, there's a fellow Top Gear host, I think,
there is
a 458 Speciale and Rosso Dino. It's a great looking car. So those are my three cars. But of course, they're meaningless because we know what they would choose anyway, because Manish is mates with Anthony Hamilton. So there we go.
Brilliant.
Let's move on to music. I'm going first on the music because I feel like I've been violated slightly by going last there. Okay. Who remembers just how impactful that first Gorillaz album was when you first heard it?
Yeah.
How ambitious it was, how ambitious the music was, the hologram,
Experimental.
concerts, just the whole thing was just Damon Albarn's freaking genius. And the first time I heard it, it's there. That's a tune. I listened to it in the car the other day. It rips car hi-fis to bits.
It does,
so much going on. So there you go. Gorillaz there. Neil Clifford.
NWA, straight out of Compton. Express Yourself. The best 1988 dance track that could be found in Portsmouth.
Yeah, amazing. Chris Cooper.
It's got to be Heaven on Earth by Belinda Carlisle.
I tell
It's
you what,
such a great track in the car.
It is a good track.
I've heard you say some brave things. None braver than that in that context.
This is me bearing myself to the audience. Not like that if you're watching in black and white.
Yeah. Wonderful choice. Manish, where'd you go from that? We lost him. Manish, can you hear me?
Earth to Manish.
He's gone
Manish.
funny.
Manish. We've lost Manish.
Yeah.
Manish. Unmute yourself.
I think we've all frozen, and thinks we've all frozen.
He's not. We've lost him.
Oh,
We've
he's
lost him.
gone.
Okay.
That
Right,
bombshell.
on that bombshell, we're going to have to leave this. So,
Yeah.
from me, Chris Harris,
He's gone.
Cristoforo Kupari, as he's renamed himself, Neil with an I, and Manish IT Pandy. Can we bid you farewell, and we look forward to seeing you next week.